A very good morning, students. How are you doing? I hope you are well and doing good at your home. Let us see chapter 10 Sermon at Benaras. This is from class 10th, first flight. Let us see the brief introduction of this chapter. The sermon at Benaras throws light upon the early life of Lord Buddha, who was originally born as a prince in the royal family. On being exposed to the sufferings of the world, which he was earlier shielded from, he left his princehood and went in search of salvation, thus leaving all the worldly pleasures behind. Upon attaining spiritual awakening, he gave his first sermon in the city of Benaras, hereby making a lady named Kisa Gautami realize that men are mortal and a wise person should not grieve at what is bound to happen, for it only enhances pain and suffering. Let us see the explanation of the chapter. Gautam Buddha, 563 BC to 483 BC, began life as a prince named Siddhartha Gautama in northern India. At 12, he was sent away for schooling in the Hindu sacred scriptures, and 4 years later he returned home to marry a princess. They had a son and lived for 10 years as befitted royalty. At about the age of 25, the prince, heretofore shielded from the sufferings of the world, while out hunting, chanced upon a sick man, then an aged man, then a funeral procession, and finally a monk begging for alms. These sights so moved him that he at once went out into the world to seek enlightenment concerning the sorrows he had witnessed. Sacred means embodying the laws and doctrines of a religion, means pavitra, holy. Scriptures, the sacred writings of a religion, holy books. Befitted means be appropriate for, should. Chanced upon means came across by chance. Alms means money or food given to poor people. It means charity. Enlightenment, a state of high spiritual knowledge. Gautam Buddha was born to a North Indian royal family as a prince and was named Siddhartha Gautama. He was sent to a faraway place when he was 12 years old to study Hindu sacred scriptures, and upon returning 4 years later, he got married to a princess. Soon they both had a son and they continued to live the royal life for about 10 years. The royals were shielded from all the unpleasant experiences of the world until the prince met a sick man, an aged man, and a funeral procession, and a monk looking for alms. These experiences acted as an eye opener for him, and thus he left all the royalty behind to seek a higher sense of spiritual knowledge. He wandered for 7 years and finally sat down under a peepal tree, where he vowed to stay until enlightenment came. Enlightened after 7 days, he renamed the tree the Bodhi tree. Bodhi tree means tree of wisdom, and began to teach, to share his new understandings. At that point, he became known as the Buddha. Buddha means the awakened or the enlightened one. The Buddha preached his first sermon at the city of Benaras, most holy of the dipping places on the river Ganges. That sermon has been preserved or is given here. It reflects the Buddha's wisdom about one inscrutable kind of suffering. Wandered means to move without a fixed cause. Word means solemnly promise to do a specified thing. means kasam khana. Preached means deliver a religious address to an assembled group of people. Sermon means a talk on religious or moral subject. Holy means sacred. Dipping means places bathing. Inscrutable means something which cannot be understood. Gautam Buddha went in search of enlightenment for about 7 years before he finally came across a peepal tree and chose to sit under it till he became awakened. When he finally attained salvation after 7 days, he decided to retitle the tree as the Bodhi tree, which means the tree of wisdom. And he himself came to be known as Buddha, which means the awakened one. He even began preaching his new realization, and his first sermon was given in the city of Benaras. The city of Benaras is known to be sacred as it resides on the bank of holy river Ganges. The first sermon he gave was preserved and is famous till date. It is given below as well. It gives a new perspective to man's unending suffering. Kisa Gojbi had an only son and he died. In her grief, she carried the dead child to all her neighbors, asking them for medicine, and the people said he had lost her senses. The boy is dead. At length, Kisa Gotmi met a man who replied to her request. I cannot give the medicine for thy child, but I know a physician who can. And the girl said, pray tell me, sir, who is it? And the man replied, go to Sakyamuni the Buddha. Kisa Gotmi repaired to the Buddha and cried, Lord and Master, give me the medicine that will cure my boy. It talks about a lady named Kisa Gotmi whose son had recently died. Struck with unending pain and sorrow, she took her son door to door, requesting for a wonder drug that could bring his son back to life. Quite obviously, clearly, everyone thought that the lady had lost her ability to think. She had gone mad. Going on from door to door, she finally came across a man who couldn't offer any medicine but led her to Sakyamuni the Buddha. Filled with hope, the lady visited Gautam Buddha and begged him for a cure for her child. The Buddha answered, I want a handful of mustard seed. And when the girl in her joy promised to procure it, the Buddha added, the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, parent, or friend. Let us see the explanation. Just as the man said, Gautam Buddha had a solution. He asked Tisa Gautami to get a handful of mustard seeds, restored with hope. Kisa Gautami thought it to be a very simple task until Lord Buddha instilled a condition that the mustard seed must be taken from a house where no one has lost a child, husband, or parent or friend. Poor Kisa Gautami now went from house to house, and the people pitied her and said, here is mustard seed, take it. But when she asked, did a son or daughter, a father or mother die in your family? They answered her, alas, the living are few, but the dead are many. Do not remind us of our deepest grief. And there was no house, but some beloved one had died in it. Kisa Gautami became weary and hopeless and sat down at the Once again, Kisa Gautami went from door to door, but this time she was looking for mustard seeds. Many had mustard seeds to offer, but none of them could fulfill Lord Buddha's condition of having seen no deaths in the family. Upon being asked, people requested her not to remind them of their deepest grief. Unfortunately, she couldn't find a suitable home to get mustard seeds for his son. Kisagotmi became weary and hopeless and sat down at the wayside watching the lights of the city. As they flickered up and were extinguished again, At last, the darkness of the night reigned everywhere, and she considered the fate of men, that their lives flicker up and are extinguished again. And she thought to herself, how selfish am I in my grief? Death is common to all, yet in this valley of desolation, there is a path that leads him to immortality who has surrendered all selfishness. All hope was lost for Kisa Gautami, and thus, in extreme anguish and pain, she found herself a place to ponder at the edge of the road. She continuously watched city lights blinking and observed them till there was just darkness all around. After deep reflection, she realized that man's fate was just like those city lights that flicker and extinguish repeatedly. The cycle of birth and death is nature's way of working. Suddenly, she became conscious as to how selfish she had been in her sorrow, and that one who was born must rest eternally. Men are mortal, and the ones that are immortals have covered a path free from all worldly pleasures. Buddha said, the life of mortals in this world is troubled and brief and combined with pain. For there is not any means by which those that have been born can avoid dying. After reaching old age, there is death. Of such a nature are living beings. As ripe fruits are early in danger of falling, so mortals, when born, are always in danger of death. As all earthen vessels made by the potter end in being broken, so is the life of mortal. Both young and adult, both those who are fools and those who are wise, all fall into the power of death. All are subject to death. According to Lord Buddha, the life of mortals is troubled because they have not made peace with the fact that the one who is born must rest in the end. There is no way a living being can avoid facing death. Just like a ripe fruit is more prone to falling, an aged mortal is bound to die. Just like all earthen vessels break at some point, so do men, whether old or young, foolish or wise, death leaves none. Of those who overcome by death depart from life, a father cannot save his son, nor kinsmen their relations. Mark. While relatives are looking on or lamenting deeply, one by one mortals are carried off like an ox that is led to the slaughter. So the world is afflicted with death and decay. Therefore the wise do not grieve, knowing the terms of world. Kinsmen, a man who is none one of a person's blood relations, lamenting express regret or disappointment about something. Slaughter means killing of animals for food. Afflicted affect adversely. The only way death works is by withdrawing the person from the living world. That is, the person ceases to exist. No one has control over death. Neither a father can save his son nor a relative his relative. Just like an ox is taken to the slaughterhouse to be killed, so does death do with mortals, leaving none behind. Thus, the one who knows this truth and doesn't grieve at the loss is the one who has been called wise by Lord Buddha. Not from weeping nor from grieving will anyone obtain peace of mind. On the contrary, his pain will be the greater and his body will suffer. He will make himself sleek and pale. Yet the dead are not saved by his lamentation. He who seeks peace should draw out the arrow of the lamentation and complaint and grief. He who has drawn out the arrow and has become composed will obtain peace of mind. He who has overcome all sorrow will become free from sorrow and be blessed. According to Lord Buddha, one should not grieve, weep, or be miserable at something which is bound to happen, for it will keep men away from obtaining peace of mind. It will only multiply the pain and suffering, thus leading to physical weakness, and moreover, no amount of grief would bring back the death. It is only very important to understand that one must move past feelings like sorrow and grief, as it is the only way that leads to the path of salvation. This is all students. I hope you all have understood. Thank you for watching the video.